AskReddit by bottom oily 7579. What's the most disgusting thing you've ever done for someone? Cleaned out a garage with a rat infestation, black widow spiders, that had flooded multiple times and was crawling with black mold. Got rat shit all over my hands, cobwebs all over my face, mold in my lungs, and squelched my way out of the garage clutching soggy, disintegrating cardboard filled with more rat shit and half-chewed items that used to be well loved. I'd do it again, but my god mom, why didn't you just let me fist fight our neighbors who kept plugging the storm drain? Came here to tell a similar tale, only yours sounds worse. Did the same for some friends in their garage. Cleaned the whole dang thing, organized the whole thing, tools, storage, everything. Came back a month later, looked like I'd done absolutely nothing in there. Was tough, NGL. My wife went to a bar with GFS and passed out in some bushes right after calling me to come get her. I find her. The line to get in is packed with onlookers. I pick her up over my shoulder and start to carry her to the car. She shit herself. Went all over the side of my shoulder and head in front of what seemed to be a million people. Got her in the car. More shit. Got her home. More shit. I cleaned her up, got her in bed and spent the next 5 hours cleaning myself. The car. Etc. It was like, where is this shit coming from? There's another dicky. There's another one. How TF is it in my shoe? WTF. Holy alcohol poisoning. My husband, my 2 dogs, and myself were camping a couple weeks ago. We discovered an awesome spot to some bouldering which also had a lot of red ferns growing. One of my dogs found them scrumptious. The next morning when we woke up it was super cold, so one of the dogs slid between us to snuggle until it warmed up a bit. A few minutes later she started making the "I'm going to rafe" noise. Dog owner, you know the one. The "I'm going to spew in 4 seconds." Her mouth was about 6 inches from my husband's face. I don't know what came over me, probably the same superpowers that mothers use to lift Volkswagens off their children. Without thinking about what I was doing, I stuck my hands in between our dog and my husband. She then proceeded to fill my hands with all of yesterday's red ferns. My husband isn't a germaphobe, but my level of grossness tolerance is way higher than his. If he got a face of vomit, his whole day would have been ruined. So if you really love someone, if you are willing to catch vomit for them. The dreaded herk 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 noise. Dug a painfully stuck poo out of my toddler son's bum with my gloved, glycerined finger. I'm glad he was too young to remember it. Unfortunately I wasn't. My father did this to me often as a toddler because I had a cheese addiction and I would sneak so much cheese from the fridge any chance I got. My constipation and him putting Vaseline up my ass and taking the poop out is actually one of my earliest memories because of how uncomfortable it was, lol. They may remember and be like, so, about that. My ex had severe pancreatitis, caused by alcohol and drug abuse, and whenever he would have an episode, he'd be throwing up for 16 hours straight. He would comfort himself by laying in a shower bath the entire time, so I had call off work so I could repeatedly clean up his vomit, hold garbage cans under his mouth, boil water in pots, because the hot water heater would have long since been drained from the shower running for hours non-stop, and throw towels in the dryer because he'd use up all the towels and I needed to keep a steady supply of warm dry towels for him. It was agony for him and I was there every step of the way. I divorced him for unrelated reasons. Last I heard he was not able to find another person who could do these things for him. That's amazing and true virtue to in sickness and in health. One of my close friends in college was secretly a cutter. I took her to a party at a friend of mine's house where she saw an ex. She disappeared for a little and I found her in the bathroom with her arm completely mangled from my friend's shaving razor. I'm really squeamish but just calmed her down, cleaned and bandaged her up, cleaned up the bathroom and got her home without anyone realizing what had happened. The sight of blood really freaks me out, but in that moment I just had to sack up to get her out of there safely. I stole her scissors from her dorm on the way out. Damn, you're a good friend. Did you help her get some professional help? I need a happy ending to this story. Scooped vomit out of their mouth while they were lying down to prevent them from choking on it. Walter White left the chat. Wasn't really for someone, but I worked in agriculture back in the day, and had a horse that had enucleated itself by running full tilt into a tree branch. I cleaned out the weeping hole in its head twice a day and applied all the ointment and bandages it needed. That was truly gross, and I have a thing about eyes. I have kids too though, so I have literally caught vomit with my hands more than once. Equine professional here, I feel your pain. The amount of nasty injuries I treat regularly. Not gross per se, but had a foal also run full tilt into a tree and broke his neck this summer. I thought he was a gonna fit sure. He lived, he's currently running around being an asshole to me daily. I gave my husband's grandmother a bath. She had diseased skin on her foot. Some of it came off in my hand. Use it to roll up some sushi. Shoved my fingers down her throat so she would vomit and not die of alcohol poisoning. We don't talk anymore. Even if y'all don't talk anymore, that's an important thing you did. It illustrates what kind of person you are, and that's valuable. Removed a stuck tampon out of an ex-girlfriend. You're a hero for that. Stuck tampons are so scary. My toddler son was so constipated that after 3 days of laxatives I had him on the cleaning pad and he was so bloated and cramped up. I lifted his legs, a little air came out. I bent his knees and pushed his upper legs up and the shit started to ooze out. He was sleepy and very tired at this point, but I didn't want to waste momentum. I couldn't get him to push, so I squeezed out massive amounts of shit like a tube of toothpaste. Where did you squeeze? His torso or squeezing his legs to his chest? That's gnarly either way. Also username checks out lol. My mate lived in an absolute pigsty. Like a real dump. Anyways, one night I ended up crashing at his due to a missed train and the place was so disgusting I genuinely couldn't sleep, so I stayed up the entire night cleaning. I think the kicker was his old bedroom floor had become an impromptu cat litter tray, just cat turd everywhere. I cleaned that place as best as I could for 6 hours straight and left. It was still a dump when I left. I was living with my in-laws when we had a mouse infestation in their house that year. My wife has severe OCD and was very freaked out and afraid of cleaning the traps, so to spare her from being exposed to her biggest fears I agreed to help. I regularly emptied the electric trap in our kitchen, but after a while the electric trap started to malfunction and literally began exploding the bodies of the dead mice. We couldn't thoroughly clean the electric traps enough either, so by the time we got rid of it the thing was splattered in decaying mouse guts. The whole process of dealing with the infestation was horrible for my wife, but I'm so glad she didn't have to deal with that. Lol. After I graduated college, the deal was I could live at home but had to pay room and board. My mother had set mouse traps and one had been caught, which we determined by the smell. We located the disgusting mouse remains and she freaked out and told me to get rid of it. I told her what ? That's disgusting. You're the landlord now. You remove it. She knocked $20 off my rent that month for me to do it. I repacked my college roommate's MRSA wound. She couldn't reach on her butt. They had surgically excised a lot of the infection and she had been going to daily wound care appointments. Then a 3-day weekend hit and they chucked some supplies at her and said good luck. On the second day I insisted her bandages needed changing. The packing material I pulled out was liquidy brown and partially disintegrated. Once she saw it she agreed I had been right and they had needed changing. She did fully heal from the MRSA, but it was pretty scary for a while. I had a friend change packing on my ass after I had to get an abscess removed. I have a huge issue with blood too. I tried doing it myself and fainted. My mom wouldn't even do it. I'm sure she thanked you, but from another person who was in her situation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's so embarrassing and intimidating and scary to do yourself, not to mention gross. Having a friend who you trust and doesn't judge you means so much in those situations. I let the homie puke into my hands and on my shirt back in my college days. A large group of us were partying at the Asian bro's house and I wasn't about to let him suffer the wrath of his parents because one of the homies can't handle his alcohol. So fucking gross. You're a real one, man. I wiped my girlfriend's butt after she pooped. She was blackout drunk. I wiped my sister's butt while she was giving birth to my niece. All that pushing doesn't only push out a baby. My naked toddler pooped and I caught that poop. Lol, I had this but with my puppy. I was racing to carry him outside and I caught it with the top of my foot. Unfortunately, I don't think you'll ever forget the feeling. Lifted a naked dead body up from the floor and onto a bed and covered them with a blanket. Oh, then proceeded to wipe their face clean so their adult kids could see their body one last time. I thank you for your care and kindness. My boyfriend had an infected abscess under his arm. They had to cut a kind of trench in his armpit to get it. I changed his dressings packing several times a day while it healed and gave him sponge baths until he could shower. Reader, I married him. He's worth it. Has to do a urinary catheter insertion on a man who had some serious mental and physical health issues and hadn't washed under his foreskin I think ever. I had to clean out multiple chunks of solid white cheesy waste before I could do the actual catheter. It was horrific and I still have not recovered to this day. Dear God. I'm so glad this post is the last thing I see before going to bed. Super pleasant dreams ahead. I wiped shit off my dad's balls. He had Alzheimer's and was incontinent. So we had to put adult diapers on him, which require changing, and then cleaning him up. It was my turn, so I gloved up and cleaned him up with baby wipes, including wiping the poo off his ballsack. The first time, I was traumatized for a few days. After that, it was very matter of fact, and damp, what had to be done. Today, 12/1 is his birthday. He would have been 89. I'll see you on the other side, Dad. That is love. Your dad was lucky to have you. Happy birthday to him. Had a friend get too drunk and piss herself. I helped her get in the shower and change and cleaned the urine from the couch. I am so grossed out by bodily fluids, so this was no small feat for me. Our friend back in the day passed out and vomited all over himself in the couch. Me and another friend undressed him and had to remove and wash the cloths and the couch cushion cover. But we acted fast. He didn't even remember getting sick. I used to be the biggest germaphobe when I was young and something just clicked as I got older. I thought I can always get cleaned up. Used to have a job in a dense American city where I had to clean up human waste when people use the driveway entryways as a toilet. Dope sick poops are beyond revolting. Public toilets are a public health necessity. Ah, a fellow San Franciscan I see. My then BF clogged the toilet at the place I was sharing with roommates. For whatever reason I didn't have a plunger, and no one else did either, so in a panic he left to go buy one. But me, being the eldest daughter in an all-girl family with a dad who had a trades background, decided that I wasn't gonna risk the roomies coming home to find the damage without at least trying to make Jiver a faster solution. So, naturally, I grabbed a wire hanger from my closet, untwisted it into a long stick of metal, pulled my sweater up over my nose and used it to poke around and break the seal from the shit and unclog the hole so everything could flush down. He came back to find me dry heaving while clutching a can of ginger ale in the corner of my room, and none too soon because all my roommates came home minutes after I got things back to normal. It was one bathroom for like 6 of us. So I did what had to be done, lol. Oh my god, instead of a poop knife you made a poop kebab.